The moon was hidden behind thick clouds the night Taylor Swift left the studio. It had been a long recording session, one of those nights where creativity struck at odd hours, melodies flowed like water, and time slipped through her fingers like sand. When she finally stepped outside, the city had already gone quiet. The roads washed in pale streetlights and the distant hum of late-hour traffic. Her security team had escorted her to the car, but she insisted she would drive herself. She rarely did that anymore, but tonight she needed silence, solitude to adjust her, a dark road, and the music still echoing in her mind. She slipped into her black SUV, adjusted the seat, and turned the engine on. The familiar vibrato of the engine comforted her. For a moment, she breathed deeply and sank into the seat, letting the exhaustion creep in. She had been writing a new album, one with heavier emotions, deeper meanings, stories she had been guarding for too long. It was draining, but it was soul work. She pulled out of the parking lot, the highway stretching ahead like a lonely silver river. The air felt unusually cold for Los Angeles. She rolled up her window and turned on the heater. The road was calm, almost too calm. A part of her found it peaceful, another part felt a strange tension hovering in the night air. 10 minutes into the drive, her phone buzzed. It was a message from her friend, Gigi. "Home yet? Don't forget to rest. Proud of you always. A currency Iris Sedilla." Taylor smiled softly, typing back at the next red light. "Almost home. Just needed a night drive to clear my head." She placed the phone back and continued down the road. The rain started lightly, tapping gently against the windshield. She turned on the wipers, humming a tune from the song she had been working on. It was one of those haunting melodies that followed her around even when she wasn't trying to remember it. Another 10 minutes passed. The city lights thinned out, replaced by long stretches of empty road bordered by tall, shadowy trees. She wasn't far from her home, maybe 15 minutes, but somewhere along the way, the GPS glitched. The next turn she was supposed to take didn't appear on the map. Instead, the device froze, the screen flickering like a dying flame. She tapped it gently. Nothing. She restarted it, still nothing. It wasn't a big problem. She knew this area well, but for reasons she couldn't name, a shiver crept down her spine. The rain suddenly intensified, turning into sharp, fast droplets that made visibility harder. She slowed down, her headlights slicing through sheets of water. A bolt of lightning cracked across the sky, illuminating the road for a brief moment, just long enough for her to see a figure standing at the side of the road. Her heart jumped. She slammed the brakes, gripping the steering wheel tightly. The car skidded slightly before stopping. She blinked, trying to see clearly through the rain-streaked windshield. The figure was still there, standing completely still. A man, she assumed, wearing a hood, drenched from the downpour. She swallowed. Her instinct said drive away. But then she thought, what if he's hurt? What if something is wrong? What if he needs help? Her compassion overpowered her fear. She cracked the window slightly, rainwater dripping through the gap. "Are you okay?" she called out. The man didn't move at first. Then slowly, he lifted his head. She couldn't see his fascia, only the faint outline beneath the hood. "My car, a broken bar broke down," he said, barely audible over the rain. Taylor hesitated. The situation felt wrong, but leaving someone stranded on a night like this also felt unimaginable. She glanced at her phone, no signal. She looked back at the man. "Do you need to call someone?" she asked. "Yes," he replied. "Please." She took a breath, unlocked the passenger door, and he slipped in, dripping water onto the seat. The cold rush of air that entered with him made her freeze. He smelled of wet earth, a broken bar, and something metallic. "Thank you," he said, his voice low. "No problem," she whispered, trying to steady her nerves. "You can use my phone once I get some signal." He nodded but didn't speak again. The silence inside the car became unbearable. She started driving, the rain thundering like a storm trying to swallow the car whole. After a minute, the man finally spoke. "You're Taylor Swift." She stiffened. She hadn't introduced herself. She hadn't even turned on the interior lights. "You a broken bar?" "Yes," she said carefully. "Most people recognize me." "Of course," he said with a tone that was hard to decipher. Admiration, obsession, something darker. She kept her eyes on the road. "So broken bar, where is your car?" He paused. "Back there." "Do you want me to take you somewhere specific?" Another pause. "Somewhere safe." The answer made her uneasy. She forced herself to stay calm. She was a public figure. Encounters with strangers were never predictable. But this man felt different. There was something unsettling about his stillness, his lack of visible emotion, his vague answers. A flash of lightning illuminated the car interior for a split second, and Taylor's heart nearly stopped. His left hand was bleeding severely. "Why, you were hurt?" she gasped. "Why didn't you say anything?" "It's nothing," he murmured. "Just a broken bar, a mistake." She drove faster, wanting nothing more than to reach a populated street, a gas station, anywhere other than the stark, endless road. But the storm was unforgiving, turning every mile into a struggle. Then the car sputtered. "No, no, no, not now," she whispered frantically. The engine stuttered again, the dashboard lights flickering. The man said nothing. Taylor hit the gas, but the car slowed, coughing like it was suffocating. The rain continued pounding, thunder roaring around them. Finally, the SUV rolled to a stop. The engine died. Taylor's breath quickened. "This can't be happening." The man turned his head toward her slowly. Too slowly. "Do you believe in coincidences?" he asked. She felt her blood run cold. This was wrong, terribly wrong. Her hands trembled as she grabbed her phone, but still there was no signal. She looked at the man, who sat eerily still, his face hidden in the shadows of his hood. "I think I should call for help," she said, her voice shaky. He didn't respond. Suddenly, a loud thud hit the roof of the car, making Taylor jump violently. Then another thud, heavier this time. Something or someone was on top of the vehicle. Taylor's breath hitched. What was that? The man slowly tilted his head upward as if listening. Another thud, and this time the metal above them dented slightly. Taylor screamed before she could stop herself. The man finally spoke. "We're not alone." The panic inside her exploded. She locked all the doors, her hands fumbling, her heart racing painfully in her chest. Something scraped across the roof like nails dragging over metal. "Is this someone you know?" she whispered in terror. "No," he answered simply. "But they've been following me." She stared at him, horrified. "Who? Why?" He didn't answer. Another dent slammed into the roof, and this time the shape of a heavy boot appeared in the metal. Taylor grabbed the only thing within reach, her water bottle, as if it could protect her. The man looked at her, then at her bottle, and said almost calmly, "That won't help." "Then what will?" she cried. He finally removed his hood. His face was paled, bruised, tired. "You were kind to me. I'm not here to hurt you. But whoever is out there, broken bar, they aren't here by accident." He reached under his jacket, and Taylor flinched, terrified he was about to pull out a weapon. Instead, he pulled a small torn badge. "Security, private security." "I was trying to get away from them," he said. "A group of people who followed me for days. I thought I lost them tonight. I guess I didn't." Taylor's heart pounded violently. She believed him, and not because of the badge, but because of the desperation in his eyes. Another slam shook the car, and the windshield cracked slightly. "We need to run," he said urgently. "In the storm?" she cried. "Staying here is worse." He unlocked his door, and the moment he did, the creature or persona on the roof thudded down to the ground on the passenger side. The man grabbed Taylor's wrist. "Go!" They ran into the storm, the rain blinding them, the mud slippery beneath their shoes. Taylor stumbled, but he pulled her up, urging her forward. Behind them, heavy footsteps splashed through puddles, getting closer. Taylor's heart felt like it would burst. She gasped for breath, cold rain stinging her skin, hair sticking to her face. Thunder crashed overhead. "Over here!" he shouted, pointing toward a small maintenance shed near the trees. They reached it, shoved the flimsy door open, and slipped inside. Darkness swallowed them. Taylor leaned against the wall, coughing, trying to catch her breath. The man locked the door and pressed his back against it, listening. Footsteps approached, stopped, then slowly a broken bar they circled the shed. Taylor covered her mouth, fighting back terrified sobs. "They won't stop," the man whispered. "Not until they get what they came for." "What do they want?" He hesitated. "The drive." "What drive?" He pulled a small wet flash drive from his pocket. "Proof, evidence of what they were doing." "They followed me because I took this." Before Taylor could respond, the door rattled violently. Someone was trying to break in. Taylor screamed silently, covering her mouth again. The man whispered, "If anything happens to me, take the drive and run." The door shook again, harder. The hinges groaned. Then the door burst open. A tall figure stood there, rain pouring behind him. His face was hidden behind a mask. Taylor froze in terror. The man pushed her behind him. The masked intruder lunged. The security guard fought him, the two crashing into the muddy ground just outside, grappling desperately. Taylor backed against the wall inside the shed, trembling uncontrollably. "Run, Taylor!" the guard shouted, but she couldn't move. Fear shackled her to the spot. The masked intruder pulled out something metallic, glinting under the lightning. Taylor's voice broke. "Stop, please." But another figure emerged from the dark, another masked person, then another. There were three of them. Taylor felt her legs weaken. She thought it was the end of that. This horrible night was her last. But suddenly, bright headlights cut through the storm. A large security vehicle sped toward them. Taylor collapsed in relief as her own security team jumped out, armed, shouting orders. The masked intruders scattered. Two were caught immediately. One fled into the woods. Her security team pulled her into the vehicle, shielding her. "Miss Swift, are you hurt?" "What happened?" "We lost GPS on your car. We came looking. Thank God we found you." Taylor couldn't answer. She was shaking too violently. The injured private security guard who helped her was also taken in, treated immediately. Taylor kept asking if he was okay. As they drove away, she looked back at the dark road, trembling. It was supposed to be a simple night drive. She had wanted quiet. She had wanted peace. Instead, she found herself tangled in someone else's nightmare, a night that would stay with her forever. Hours later, safe at home, wrapped in blankets, she replayed everything: the storm, the stranger, the masked intruders, the fear crushing her chest. She couldn't sleep. She didn't think she would forget the sound of footsteps on the roof of her car, the feeling of danger pressing against her lungs, the metallic scent on the stranger's clothes, the way the night swallowed the road like it wanted to keep her forever. For days afterward, she avoided driving alone. For weeks, she kept hearing the storm in her dreams. And for months, whenever she wrote music, the memory of that horrible night crept into her lyrics. The world would never know what truly happened, not until she was ready to tell it. Not until she could speak about the night when the road became a nightmare, when kindness nearly cost her everything, and when faith, fear, and courage collided under a stormy sky. And even long after the fear faded, she carried one truth with her: even on the darkest road, kindness can be dangerous, but courage always finds its way home.